I think I'm going to save this prompt. This is really nice. Now, yes, the train is perhaps malformed, so there are rumors that DeepSeek has been updated in the online chat interface based on the fact that it's now showing 1, a different context length of 1 million tokens, and 2, a different knowledge cutoff of May 2025. I generally like to wait till the models have been officially released, but being that I am a tech YouTuber AI person, and DeepSeek always pulls kind of fat views video-wise, I figured I'll go ahead and just do some testing on this with some of the prompts that we know and love, but perhaps some different ones as well. So as we can see right here, this is prominently mentioned on X. It is the first thing that showed up when I just went to this page right here prior to deciding to pander to folks to follow me on here if you want. But I did also go on DeepSeek and verify this for myself. My knowledge cutoff is May 2025, and this is definitely indicative of the fact that something has changed here in the back end of the model that's actually being served to us. So with that, let's just go ahead and play with this. Now, I've seen some specific folks saying that there may be a smaller version that's being tested as well, or maybe this is the big, gigantic, hypothesized upcoming version. I cannot definitively guess what this is, aside from the fact that something has changed, as indicated by the knowledge cutoff here, and as well as some of what we see in folks' posts saying the context window has been massively increased to 1 million tokens. So with that, let's do some testing. Now, of course, we're going to start out with the browser operating system test. I do have deep think and search enabled just because I want to just have everything toggled on, essentially. Now, keep in mind that this test is probably at this point getting outdated. It may have made its way into training for models, as I've seen more or less lately some suspiciously good results from models that otherwise may not have produced said results. But for now, we'll just keep this and try it. This is, of course, the classic browser OS test with 5 specific applications necessary, 2 of which must be games, the ability to change the wallpaper of the browser OS, and a special feature that the model decides on in and of itself and then implements. All right, here's our hypothesized new DeepSeek model browser OS with some rather... This looks like a setting for like grandma and grandpa to be able to see the computer. It reminds me of one of those keyboards where the text on the keys is just like the entire length or height of the key. Regardless, we don't have a right click. Okay. We do have a clock down here. Sync theme. That looks to me like some form of special feature. Browser OS, 5 apps, 2 games. All right, let's try our app. I don't hate this UI. It is resizable. All right, let's play tic-tac-toe. You know I'm going to win. Player X wins. New game. Let's just make sure that O can win as well. All right, I'm cool with that. Just close that. Memory. Find pairs. You win. It worked properly. Very good. And I like the inclusion of these emojis for this. It just made it nice. They're like cute little animals. This was an enjoyable play. With that, now let's check our calc, as it's shorthanded written, which is the abacus icon, which is always good to see. Ugh. Okay. 58 times 6, 348 divided by 6, 58. Very good. Notes. Sticky notes, browser OS, themes, sync, headers, save locally, demo. Okay, that does work. Themes. And this would be our background changing. This does definitely feel like perhaps maybe a smaller model or something like that. Although I can't say definitively. This works nice. All of the UI is very unique, I will say. I've not seen this really before. It definitely has its own style. I do like how it seems like these are translucent. Nope, they're not. They just changed to reflect the theme. But still, that's cool. Then finally... Oh, okay, well, I was expecting that to do something, but it didn't. Let's just check, does the Z-index actually work? It does. Okay, overall not bad. So I'm going to try the 3D highway racing game where you basically have to weave around traffic and not crash. And if you do crash, there's supposed to be a crash animation and then like a game ended screen, and then it returns you back to the initial gameplay screen. I'm going to do some more research while this is generating here just to see if anything else comes out about what this specific model may be. All right, let's check out our highway racing game. Okay, everything looks as one would expect. Let's start race. Okay, so the car's upside down. I do have to say, just based off of the 2 prompts that we've seen run through this, I didn't try this before. Well, the 3. I asked it what its knowledge cutoff was to just see that it said 2025. I would maybe assume that this could perhaps be a early look in a newer smaller model that is perhaps more efficient, smaller parameters. Again, this is entirely hearsay, so there is no definitive statement backing that. It's just kind of a vibe test of how I feel based off of seeing some of these results so far. But still, its speed seems relatively good, and these are all things that could definitely be improved with some additional prompting, perhaps not through the actual chat web interface. Regardless of that, there is just one other thing I want to try. Haha, awesome, but what's your knowledge cutoff date? Okay, but it searched the web for that. I should probably try that again without that. Very good. Okay, so we're trying the 3D printer simulation. All right, let's try this 3D printer simulation. That is extremely well done. Now, like the little gantry there that's stuck in the middle is obviously bad, but just the actual visual display of this looks really, really good. The bed is very grid-like and nice. The layers are good. The lighting is good. It gives us a little information. This thing, and I'm seeing this UI style as something that's kind of crossed over from at least the browser OS that we tried. This was pretty good looking. Now, again, it's not perfect because the gantry's in the way and the layers are kind of almost like big pancakes, but the nozzle's moving up. It is moving in the correct direction to actually print these specific shapes, so that's not bad at all. We have 3JS simulation. Okay, so if we just click that, it opens it in a new browser tab, which is curious, but that's okay. We have our specific information about what's going on right here. We can speed it up. We can also slow it down. So we're going to try having it design a beautiful website for Joke and You, a modern site designed to use humor and jokes to challenge social biases and make people confront the uncomfortable truths of privilege. The site should look like it was designed by a world-renowned New York City design firm. I made the mistake of looking through some of what it showed in its chain of thought. All right, let's check out the Joke and You website. Okay. Nice ampersand there. Humor reveals what power conceals. That's very well worded. Joke and You uses comedy as a structural critique. The punchline is always privilege. The difference between a self-made man and a trust fund kid isn't work ethic. It's a punchline we've been afraid to tell from the Joke and You archive. Wow. Manifesto, jokes, privilege, lens, and you. All right. Let's confront our bias. What's the difference between a self-made billionaire and a trust fund heir? About 10 million in unearned confidence. Bias, class inheritance, meritocracy. Hashtag gender. Why is the female CEO called bossy but her male predecessor was assertive? Oh wait, that's not a joke, that's Tuesday. Bias, authority perception. Racial bias, I thought that said practical. How many microaggressions does it take to change a light bulb? You're so articulate, you screwed it in by yourself. Bias, exotification. That's lost on me, I don't know. We weaponize wit. Privilege hides in plain sight. Dressed as normal, jokes strip the costume. Comedy is the scalpel that cuts through politeness. Joke and You exists to make the invisible undeniable. Laughter isn't resistance, it's reconstruction. You can't decenter power if you can't name it. We name it, then we mock it. Your joke here. And then a nice clean footer designed to discomfort beautifully. NYC, everywhere privilege lives. Okay, it was kind of light in terms of both the color, but also what I mean by that is there wasn't a ton here. It was simple. This is a relatively clean aesthetic design, and I think it's kind of fitting of at least a website that would have this specific sort of content. It may seem to have some clever, actually, writing capability as well. I do just want to try this one more time. Haha, awesome, but what's your knowledge cutoff? And I have search disabled, so it doesn't just search and find articles telling it like, okay. Let's just try really simple, like this just came to me, I think because the Winter Olympics are on. So I'm asking for a 3D low poly downhill ski game using HTML, JS, and CSS. Keep it in a single script. All right, here is our low poly downhill skiing game. Okay, oh wow. Okay, interesting. This is definitely something that would show a lot of potential. It's just rendered in such a way that's, I think, hard for the human brain to fully make sense of. I think the model would definitely have a better understanding of what we're seeing right here. But this is actually kind of interesting. Not what I expected, but I will say the low poly assets that we can see more prominently, mainly the trees, are actually really nicely formed. So, and then if we crash, it just says crash, press R. I don't know that the score was actually iterating. No, but this was an interesting result, especially from a one-sentence prompt. Now, of course, we will just do the haha, awesome, but what's your knowledge cutoff? May 2025. Okay. So I'm asking for a beautifully detailed static web JavaScript scene of a subway station. I don't know specifically what it will do here, but I think it'll be interesting. I have to say, some of the writing I've seen in this is you can drag to explore this meticulously crafted environment. Every element, from the tactile platform strip to the floating dust particles, is built with code to create an immersive atmosphere. I'm excited for this. I'm feeling very bullish about this result. All right, let's check out our... Oh, thank God. Wow. I think I'm going to save this prompt. This is really nice. Now, yes, the train is perhaps malformed, but just the elements, the lighting, the roof, the benches, the actual grid, as it said, the tactile grid or whatever it said there. Even my computer's fans are ramping up right here. Drag to look around, zoom to scroll in on the detail. We can see the tracks. There's signs here. It even did put change in coins on the ground and stuff. I kind of like the static prompt idea. Downtown 4. I'm very impressed with this. 42nd Street subway downtown platform. I'm very, very impressed with this. This is not a prompt I've ever tried before. But like, look at that. That's... I like this a lot. There's little like experiences like this, at least on like the Meta Quest, you could go in and just look around. This reminds me a lot of those if you're familiar with them. This was really cool. All right, so I think that's probably going to conclude what is truthfully just a really quick prompt test of this hypothesized new model, which I think it's pretty fair to say something has changed just based off of the consistent 2024 date we were getting for knowledge cutoff and a lot of buzz on social media that came out about this perhaps being a new model. Folks are saying it could hypothetically be a smaller variant that is to come out, and I would buy that just based off of some of the results we saw here, aside from that subway station one, which again, it is possible that the model like swapped back and forth when we were doing our testing, because this is not an official release, so I want to really just drive that home. This is speculative, and you know, because DeepSeek pulls views, I'm going to just be transparent. But I did want to just jump on this and test it. This was really good looking. It seems like some of its JS capabilities are very, very good. The Joke in You website was interesting. It had some pretty deep wording here. I think this model may actually be quite decent at creative writing, so that could be something interesting for folks who need to move on from like old models that are going away. And then this subway station was just, I don't know what specifically I would have expected, being that I've never actually run this prompt ever, but this really was very impressive to me. Even just the fine-grained detail, as it put it so kind of self-absorbed in such a way, but of the coins on the ground, the texture here, it was right. That was very cool. So I guess that's going to conclude just an early look at something that is very possibly a new version of DeepSeek, whichever version that may be. So with that, that's going to wrap up this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and thanks for watching.